All right, time to get ready. All right, all right, all right. Hey, Bill, you ready? 6:30. Yay. She's leaving. She's out of here. Mikey, you just running everything? Well, go ahead and give me the clicker then. At least I can do that for you. Kate's at youth camp with her friend Julia's church. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that Alana. Oh, I'm live now. You can see the back of your head. Oh, Oh, there we go. Yeah. Huh? I'm looking at myself on the video. Yeah, good. Couldn't do a little dance for us either. What's that? Oh, yeah. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. There it is, there it is, there it is. How much is that in miles? All right, let's go ahead and get started. Everybody watching online, hello. And everybody that's here, hello. I could say hello to all of you individually. Obviously, tomorrow night, next Wednesday is our last Wednesday in here doing Bible study. And then everything's going to, oh, look, it's subtitles, me too. That's kind of cool. I got subtitles. Subtitle. So this is our last week. Next week will be our last week in here. And so, and we have 3 more Sundays in here at the Spanish church, right? 3 more Sundays left. And then, of course, as you guys all know, and you guys watching online know, we will officially become Generations Church in 3 weeks. That's pretty exciting, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. There we go. 3 weeks for Generations Church. I have to flip this. I can't watch myself the whole time. I'm going to get distracted. I am distracted. I know. All right, Ethan. All right, let's get going. Let's get moving then. Because last week, Jacob's working a youth camp this week, which is why he's not here. Heather and Natasha are having a spa day today to end their summer together. So that's why we're here. I know Robin and Tom, they have a wedding coming up in a few days, so I assume that has a lot to do with the fact that they're not here. So, and there's an Awana meeting tonight on our other campus, I guess we can say, if we want to say it that way. So that would explain that. Now, last week, Mikey did a bang-up job. He did a really good job with the plagues. Yeah, round of applause. Did a great job with the plagues. I gave him the part that really nobody likes. We teach this in Bible class at school. They just have to memorize it, and it's not a whole lot of fun. They don't like all of it because the plagues, it just kind of gets a little bit redundant after a while. But he did a great job, and now I get to do the fun part. All right, I get to do the fun part today, which is the Exodus, right? Which is the actual crossing of the Red Sea. Which, in case you guys didn't know it, that's what happens. They cross the Red Sea. Yeah. It all goes through. Yeah, sorry to spoil it for you. And so what we're going to do tonight, we're going to answer 3 questions, and I get to do the fun part. Listen, we could have gone 8 billion different directions with this, right? There's so much material to cover, so much stuff to talk about in this. So what I decided to do was to use all the different spots that metaphorically apply to our lives. So everything that we can walk out of here with, knowing that even in the Exodus, in the book of Exodus, that it's all still pointing to us as we have an exodus in our lives as we come to Jesus, right? So then 3 questions we're going to ask. The very first question we're going to ask, Mikey, go ahead and put that up on the screen. The very first question we're going to ask, oh no, this is the timeline also that we had talked about, right? The timeline, which is him being born. And then remember, there's a laser pointer. That won't distract me at all. Cat. He was born, and remember, he was adopted into the Israelite. He was now the prince of Egypt, and then he murdered a dude because he knew it was a whole thing. He had to be there. And then he went to shepherd for a while. Then he was called there at about 80 years old. It's one of the things we always forget. As my mom will be 75 tomorrow, and my dad will be 76 tomorrow. Very exciting. They are still younger than when Moses got called with the burning bush. Isn't that crazy? Could you imagine right now you guys leading 2 million people into freedom and trying to, that's insane, right? The fact that happened. So there he is at 80. What's that? And they walked, yes. There was a lot of walking. And then for the next 40 years, they walked as well. All right, so what I want to start with today is a question that I believe is the central question of the entire Bible. And we find the question in the book of Genesis. Anybody know the question? Before I know? I'll give you a hint. It was Isaac who said the question. Remember the story of Abraham and Isaac? You guys remember Abraham went and took his son Isaac and went to go take him up to the mountain to kill him, right? You remember the one question that Isaac asked? Anybody remember the question? Oh, very close. That's exactly right. Here's the main point of the entire Bible, I believe, is this question: where is the lamb? Right? You're exactly right. Where is the sacrifice? Because, but more specifically, the lamb. And the reason why that's more specific is because if you recall, when Abraham went to go sacrifice Isaac, and he said, "All right, son, let's go on a little road trip." Right? Me and my son last night went to the Rays game. We'd say, "Hey, come on, son, let's go." And he went on a little hike, and they said, "We're going to go and sacrifice an animal. We got to go and sacrifice the lamb." And then he starts looking around and he's like, wait, there's nothing to sacrifice. And he says, where's the lamb? And then he realizes that he's the sacrifice. But you guys recall that at the very last second when he was about to murder his son, that the angel said, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right. That's right. And so they had to stop him. And as they stopped him, there was an animal over in the thicket. You remember the animal? It was a ram, which rhymes with lamb, but it's still not a lamb, right? And so if Abraham said God will provide the lamb, he didn't. He did not provide the lamb. He provided the ram, which in English rhymes with lamb, but he did not provide the lamb, which then leads us to the question, where is the lamb? And the lamb is what? You can fill in the answer. What's the lamb? Jesus, right? That's all the way back in the book of Genesis, as he is alluding to the fact that one day the lamb is going to come. And now in Exodus, we also get this exact same idea, because what we talk about all the time is we talk about the parting of the Red Sea and him walking on dry land. But what we fail to realize a lot of times is that before that, they had to prepare, anybody? Lamb, exactly right. They had to prepare a lamb. So I wanted to read this for you because I find it fascinating. Fascinating to me that God told Moses to go and rescue the Israelites, to flee from the Egyptians. But before you do, let me tell you what you're going to cook for dinner tonight. Right? It's very specific too. And it's very specific in all the rules. And so I think there's reason why. And I think it goes back to Isaac's question, where is the lamb? And I think it leads all the way to when John the Baptist saw Jesus coming in the book of John. And he said, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. So since Robin's not here tonight, which is a very rare thing for us, I need somebody to read Exodus 12, 1 through 13. All right. Thanks, Bill, for volunteering. 13.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper doorpost of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden in all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with pertinence thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
Very good. Round of applause for Bill, everybody. Excellent job, excellent job, excellent job. So the question and what we just described is still a holiday to this day. And what's the holiday that you just described? Passover, right? So this is Passover. It's being described, and this is the initiation, the initial first Passover that's being described there. And so then let's go back to my question, though, because we know that the blood was supposed to be put on the doorpost, and that when the angel of death came to kill all the firstborns of the Egyptians, they would see the blood over the doorpost and pass over all of the children that's there, right? It's the idea, which is fine, which is okay. But why be so specific about this lamb? Why be so specific? And I've already kind of alluded to the answer here, in my opinion. So tell me what you guys think. Why so specific?
Because the Lamb of God that was going to save us was the male.
Mm-hmm.
So he was basically a human ram.
Yep. Yeah, very good. So in this, you'll see a lot of things that describes Jesus in what Bill just read, right? Anybody have any that pops out right at the top of your head? What's some of the things that you have to know about the lamb before you kill it? What's a specific thing about the lamb? Yes, go ahead, Jack. Without defect, right? It's got to be a perfect lamb. And what was Jesus? Perfect. Perfect in every way. Very good. Anything else?
The male was the first year.
Male, okay, very good. Male is important. What else? Mikey, when you have your hand up there, it looks like your hand's raised. Okay, I got you. Your hand's not raised. All right, what are we doing with this lamb? Are we just letting it roam around? What's the purpose of this lamb? What's going to happen next? What do you have to do before you eat the lamb, Ethan? Before you smoke it, what do you got to do? You got to kill it. That's exactly right. You got to kill it. You got to kill it before it happens. Is this related to Jesus? Sure. Yeah, unfortunately, Jesus' life's purpose was to die, which just blows your mind that he was still willing to do all of that. I also point out the fact that there was 14 days that you had to observe the lamb, right? I think this is just the idea of making sure that when we think about Jesus, that his whole life had been observed and written about, right? And written about so much. And we know that he was perfect in every way because of the examination that took place in his life throughout all of it. So he was sacrificed. He was spotless. He was pure. He was examined. He was slaughtered. What about the way that he was cooked? Roasted, right? Over a fire. Now, it said you can't boil them, right? You can't boil them. You can't eat them raw, but you got to put them over a fire. Now, when we think about fire in the Bible, what does this usually relate to? All right, but that's true. That's true, yes. So, very good. Yes, very good. So now the fire of God, that comes through. And then we also have this idea of a refining process, right? With us as Christians as well, that we go through the fire, and when we go through the fire, then we're better on the other side because of the refinement that happens with us. So I think when we have this question, where is the lamb, that Isaac started with in the book of Genesis, we could see it connecting all throughout the Bible. I mean, you go all the way to Revelation until you can finally see the lamb again in the book of Revelation. Anything else stick out to you guys on these very famous verses of the Passover? What you got?
They chose the lamb on the 10th day.
Chose the lamb on the 10th day.
And they kept it
14 days.
And that was the 24th day of the month.
Right? 24th day of the month.
24th day of the month, which is when they started their year.
It's Christmas. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it's a bit. I understand where you're going with. So the issue, I'm just gonna let you have that. Okay, good. Yes, that's fine. We'll just run with it. We'll just run with it. No, it's fine. The issue is that there is the actual calendar year, and then there's the Jewish calendar. And so when the calendar year, as we would start a calendar year in January, right? So let's say that their actual calendar year would start in what we would know as January. Their spiritual year still wouldn't start until March or April, right in there. So. Right. So in that spot. So it would be like for us, it's almost like if you ever were, and we used to do this in churches that I used to work at, you would have your actual calendar year, and then you'd have your budget year, right? And so for us in churches, for whatever reason, we'd like to start our budget year in July. So you have your July budget year to start. And so when we talk about year, it was so dumb because it just wasted all of our time. So this year, wait, are you talking about budget year or actual year? Right? It just wasted so much time. But they had to do it for bookkeeping purposes. But within all of that, you are correct. And there's a lot of people that get really deep into the numerology of what you just read, and it's just a little bit too. I was just pointing out that it was interesting correlation. Yeah, that is good. Anything else? Hey, it's not a lot of part that we like to talk about a lot, but how about the fact that they had to eat the lamb? Do you guys remember in John chapter 6? You remember in John chapter 6, verse 66, actually John 6:66. This is when Jesus looked at the disciples and said, you will follow me no more. You are coming to me for free food and for tricks instead of coming for me for who I am. And that's a very bad paraphrase. But the key of that is they followed them no more, was the key part of 666. And the reason why was because in John chapter 5 or so, it's when he fed the 5,000, right? Which is great. And so he fed the 5,000. Everybody was happy. Everybody loved Jesus because he fed the 5,000. Well, listen, if Jesus gives you free food one day, if Jesus gave you free food on Monday, what are you going to do on Tuesday? You're going to go back, see if he's got more free food, right? See if he's going to do it again. And so they showed up again the next day. But Jesus, in his intuition and his heart, knew that they were only there for the free food, right? And so what he said was, unless you can eat my flesh and drink my blood, then you can't follow after me. And that's when John 6:66 said, and they followed him no more, because it just got a little bit too weird for them, right? So the fact that they said that you're supposed to take this lamb, slaughter this lamb, roast the lamb, and then eat the lamb, is very important, because I think what he's saying is that it's very similar to Galatians 2:20 that we talked about in church a couple weeks ago. It says, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, it's not I that live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I live by the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. So the idea is that when we eat the flesh of Jesus, which is, we don't, it sounds weird. It sounds like you're a zombie movie, right? It sounds really weird. But the idea is that if you, I'm watching Bill on his phone, sorry. When you're eating the flesh of Jesus, the idea is that you are sacrificing your life the exact same way that Jesus sacrificed his life. So all of those things, I think, answer this question, where is the lamb? And I think it correlates real nicely. All right, now, Mikey, what's the next question that I was asking there? The next question is this. As they were about to now go and leave Egypt, they said, all right, now they were slaves in Egypt, and now they're going to go and be rescued by Moses. They killed the lamb. Remember, when Bill read it, they said, keep your clothes on, right? Keep your clothes on, keep your bag packed, right? It's like Julie and Sammy right now, right? You never know when that baby's going to come, so you better be ready, right? And make sure that you have that bag packed, because if you sleep in the middle of the night, make sure you know where your clothes are at, because it's going to be really weird if you go into the hospital not knowing where your clothes are at, and you got to have it all there and prepared. And that's what they said. He said, at any moment, Moses is going to come and rescue you. So when that happens, you're gonna slaughter this lamb, and you're gonna have your bags ready, you're gonna have your clothes ready, you're gonna have your staff ready, because you just never know, it's gonna go and it's gonna be time. And then they left Egypt. But as we know a lot from the rest of the Old Testament, is that it wasn't very easy. Because, well, let's just go ahead and read some of the things of why it wasn't so easy. So let's go 13, 15 through 18. Anybody else want to read? Not a lot of selection today. All right, it might just be you again, Bill. Okay, go ahead. There's only 3 verses here. Exodus 13, 15 through 18. And I'll read the next verses after that.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses blood I will pass over you.
Mm-mm.
I
Hang on,
read
hang
that
on. You
one.
got to switch chapters. Switch chapters. So go down to 13 now.
Going to chapter 13?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Exodus chapter 13, verse 15.
Okay, hold on. All right. 15?
Mm-hmm.
It came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall, 16 and 17?
And 18.
And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes, for by strength of hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. 18.
Yep, one more.
But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So I wanted him to read those specific verses because what you find to begin with, and all of this is going to come back to our lives, right? Believe it or not, everything he just read applies to our lives personally. The very first thing he talked about was how the angel of death came and killed the firstborns, right? And it was very specific to say that it would kill the firstborn of those that were poor and those that were the highest officials, right? In other words, this goes back to when the Bible says that God is no respecter of people, right? That it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor, you're young or you're old, you're black or you're white. One day we're all going to die, right? One day it's all going to be over. And you're going to have to figure out and it has nothing to do with anything that's happened here on earth except for what we know now as our faith in Jesus. And so once this death comes over everybody, it was very clear to say all the different kinds of people that had their firstborn die. And then the thing, I'm going to read it in my translation exactly what God said. It said that when they were leading the Israelites out of Egypt, they wanted him to go this path like this, right? This is what we were talking about before we started here, right? So they were going like this and going over here and going all over here. There was a straight path. They could have just left and ran. But God said, here's exactly what God says. It's crazy. It says, the people might change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. So they said they got rescued from slavery. They are no longer slaves. But God then took them around all the difficult things because he was afraid if they saw the difficult things, they would want to go and be slaves again. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy to think about. Why do you think that is? And that's what leads me to this question. Why is it so difficult to leave Egypt? Right? What do you think, Ethan? It is a big mountain desert. That's true. I mean, physically speaking, it would be very hard to leave Egypt. That's a very good point. Yes, Mikey? The devil that you know is better than the devil you don't know. I think there's a lot of truth in that when it comes to the Israelites in this particular spot. What else? Anything else? I read this quote today that said, it took one day to get Israel out of Egypt, but it took 40 years to get Egypt out of Israel. Right? That's good right there, isn't it? That's pretty much what was happening. You would say that really, and anybody else have any answers before I continue on? What was happening in this particular moment is, and this is exactly what Mikey said, that's why he packed the room last week and I didn't, is that as we know that the devil, how do you say it again? The better the devil you know than the devil that you don't know. And I think what happens eventually, and it's the reason, by the way, that when Bill was reading his first set of verses, he said that when you eat the lamb, you're also supposed to eat the bitter herbs, right? And you guys know if you've ever taken a traditional Seder meal, you know that you take the bitter herbs because it reminds you of the bad times. And so what was happening here was God would say, all right, we're going to take you out of Egypt, and you're not going to be slaves anymore. But as time went on, they were all like, hey, we kind of had some good times in Egypt. And maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I can go, maybe if we could just go back to Egypt, right? At least they would give me crumbs off the floor. And then at some point they started whining and saying, Moses, you bring us out here to die in the middle of the wilderness. And so what happens is you start to romanticize. You start to romanticize the way that things used to be, all right? And we're all guilty of this, right? This, to me, that's the 90s, right? There was nothing better than the 90s. I'm sure now if I went back there, I was like, no, I probably didn't like it that much when I was in the 90s. But to me, everything was better. Everything was better because I romanticize it. And I'd say it's so much, the past was always so much better. Because, again, it's the devil you know versus the devil that you don't know. So they'd say, I'd rather go and be familiar, go back to the things that I know as a slave in Egypt than to be rescued. Even though God is the one rescuing me, I'd rather do that. And that's one of the reasons. The other reason that it's so difficult to leave Egypt is because, as we find, and you guys probably know in the story, Egypt chases you. They don't want you to go. At some point, somebody started to do some math and said, wait a minute now, if we let all these Israelites go, who's going to do the work? Who's going to build the buildings? Who's going to make the bricks? Who's going to do all the who's going to mow the lawns, right? Who's going to right, yeah, we could go down a whole nother path right here. This isn't any sort of ICE agent agenda here. I'm just talking this particular moment, in this particular time. They said, who's going to do all this work? And so they started chasing after him because Egypt will chase after you. And sometimes it's difficult to leave Egypt because God takes you the long way, right? He takes you the long way. And sometimes it's difficult to leave because you're on the long path, even though it's the best path. So now, as we're thinking about this, why is it so difficult to leave Egypt? I personally have never been to Egypt. I'll be in Turkey in November, but not in Egypt yet. So I don't know that. So it doesn't really apply to us specifically, except for that when we're talking about Egypt here in Exodus, Egypt represents something in our lives. Anybody know what it represents? What is it, Mikey? Sin. Okay, it's very, very true. What else do we know about? What do we know about sin in our lives? We talk about it a lot. What's that? It's constant, right? It chases us like Egypt chases you. What's that? What's that, Jack? And the devil's there, right? He's always there, always watching you. And then in the midst of all this, the Bible talks about how we're slaves to our sin, right? And what were the Israelites in Egypt? Slaves, right? So when we think about Egypt in Exodus, it relates to us because in our lives, Egypt is our old sinful lifestyle. It's us being enslaved to sin. So when you say, why is it so difficult to leave Egypt? For us, the question would be, why is it so difficult to leave our sin? Well, the answers are the same. Because we romanticize it. Because we'd say, oh, yeah, but it felt really good when I was doing the thing I wasn't supposed to do. Well, that's just the way that your mind has led you to think after the fact, right? But in the middle of it, you probably were only doing it because there's other things going on in your life that you were trying to pretend didn't actually happen. The other reason that it's so difficult to leave sin is because sin chases you. Just like Egypt chased them, sin chases you. And the other way it's difficult is because sometimes God takes us the long way, right? Sometimes it's not an easy point A to point B situation. Sometimes he takes us the long way. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I didn't think so. It's going to go really fast tonight because you guys aren't a lot of talkers, but it's okay. Because maybe this next thing might take a little bit longer. Jack, would you mind getting back there real fast? Because we're going to turn the lights off here in a second. Because what I wanted to do tonight was I hit on the Prince of Egypt a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I like it a lot. And so I wanted to show you the actual clip. It's about 5 minutes, which is good. Because we're not a lot of talkers in the room tonight. Of them going through the Red Sea. Again, not always historically completely accurate, but there are parts of this that I really think are really cool. So let's go ahead and watch this, and it's going to help us visualize what it was like for Moses to lead the Israelites through the Red Sea.
shall do my wonders.
All right. So, all right, hang on. We're going to go live again. The Facebook kicked us off. The whole copyright thing. Hang on a second. Yeah. There it is. Hang on. Are we live now? There we go. We're live again. All right. If you start watching me live again, sorry for getting you kicked off of our feed. The whole copyright issues. And we should be good now. All right. I won't show any more clips. All right. So anything you guys thought of when you saw the clip? What do you guys think? We did get copyrighted for that, yes. we got shut down. Yeah, what do you got?
Number one, Moses looked really good for 80.
He looked amazing for 80, didn't he? Amazing for 80.
Number two, that barrel was not real bright.
No, not very bright at all.
I mean, somebody's going to split the sea, and you're going to chase them.
Yeah.
That ain't.
Yeah, that's true. What else? Anyone else?
Like, I don't want nothing to do with this dude.
We're talking about the arrogance of thinking, well, if they can go through the water, I can go through the water, you know? What else? Anything else? What else stuck out to you guys?
Well, Pharaoh, in front of him,
Yeah.
he was with him. And they did that all the way up into England. Even in England, they would do the same thing.
Yeah.
The king would go up fight.
King would always go first. Yeah, which is crazy. Pretty crazy to think about. Yeah. Then they started using drones. All right. Yeah, and I think my favorite part is, did you guys see the part where the wall of water was up and then the light shone and you could see like the whale and stuff over in the water? That was my favorite part. I love that because it showed the scale. It showed scale to think about that there's whales and stuff just like swimming over on the side or around them. I thought it was pretty cool. No, yeah, or like a dolphin going through the other side. Yeah, that'd be really cool. You're right. Good point. But I think that part is really good because it actually describes it as a wall of water in the Bible. So I think they made it pretty well because that looked like a wall of water to me as it was there. I thought that was pretty cool. And then when you think about it, so in that movie they showed Aaron going in first. And we don't think about it a lot, but think about the faith that it took all those people to walk through that. Right? Just I know we say, well, I mean, Pharaoh's dumb to go through it, but you know, if it would have fallen in on the Israelite people, we'd say they were dumb too, you know? So, trusting in God at that moment, yep. In himself, yep, you're exactly right. Yeah, good. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll read it as we continue on. Let's go ahead and read about this because now, what was the next question, Mikey? Don't get us copyrighted. Just go to the next one over. All right, there we go. Oh, go back. There we go. What is our Red Sea? So as we get to this point, and they stopped, and then they had to part the Red Sea. The question for us is, what is our Red Sea? So let's go ahead and read. I'm going to read the Red Sea portion. So what we just watched in the video. So I'm going to go 14, 12, and then I'm going to read a lot. Okay, here we go. Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, leave us alone? This is the Israelites getting mad at Moses, like always. It's not the word that we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, leave us alone so that we may serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. But Moses said to the people, do not fear. Stand by and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will perform for you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you will never see them again, ever. Ever. That was pretty bold. The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the sons of Israel to go forward. This is what I'm thinking. Like they're just stopped and wanting to go. As for you, lift up your staff and reach out with your hand over the sea and divide it. And the sons of Israel shall go through the midst of the sea on dry land. And as for me, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, so they will go in after them. And I will be honored through Pharaoh and all of his army, through the chariots and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord, and when I am honored through Pharaoh, through his chariots, and through his horsemen. Then the angel of God, who had been going before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud along with the darkness, yet it gave light at night. Therefore the one did not approach the other all night, which is crazy. In that video, it is a 5-minute video that we got copyrighted on, and this says all night. And then Moses reached out with his hand over the sea, and the Lord swept the sea backed by a strong east wind all night and turned the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the sons of Israel went through the midst of the sea on the dry land, and the waters were like a wall to them on their right and on their left. Then the Egyptians took up the pursuit, and all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, his horsemen went in after them to the midst of the sea. But at the morning watch, the Lord looked down on the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud and brought the army of the Egyptians into confusion. He caused their chariot wheels to swerve. We got a flat tire on I-4, that's what they just got. And he made them drive with difficulty. So the Egyptians each said, let me flee from Israel, for the Lord is fighting for them against the Egyptians. Then the Lord said to Moses, reach out with your hand over the sea, so the waters may come back over the Egyptians, over their chariots and their horsemen. So Moses reached out with his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its normal state at daybreak. And while the Egyptians were fleeing right into it, then the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots and horsemen. Pharaoh's entire army that had gone into the sea after them, not even one of them remained. But the sons of Israel walked on dry land through the midst of the sea, and the waters were like a wall to them on their right and their left. So the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. And when Israel saw the great power which the Lord had used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Anything stick out to you guys? Oh yeah, that's good. We clap on that one. Yeah, very good. We clap for the movie. We could clap for the original writer. That's very good. What's that? That's true. I'm sure people have tried. Let me ask you this question. Very important question. Why did God choose such a dramatic way? Couldn't he have saved the Israelites from slavery with a little less flair? Why did everything have to be such a big ordeal? Sometimes you just got to be a little zesty. You're not wrong. I think that's exactly what's happening here. But all right, so let's follow that line of thought though. When you're a little zesty sometimes, you know what that makes you? Unforgettable. Right? It's memorable. You never forget it. My thought is, why did God choose such a dramatic way? So we don't forget, right? So we don't forget. The Israelites, they were, like if they would have just been rescued from slavery and they were like, oh, they actually came together, they had a peace accord, they had the peace treaty, and we actually used like 14 different pins to sign their names, and everybody got a different pin from their different province. It was so nice. And listen, we've seen how that works. It works for maybe this long. Not very long at all, though. And then just keeps going back. So why? Is there any other reason why you think God chose such a dramatic and zesty way to rescue the Israelites? Go ahead, Bill.
I think it's because God is a jealous God.
Mm.
The Egyptians were worshiping old hosts of God.
Yep.
And he put plagues on them and put firstborn and everything else to show them there is no other God.
Yep.
And when they chased after God's chosen people, God showed them that you don't defy me.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think so. I think he was still alive after that. I think he was still alive after that. Anything else? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, going through. Yeah, it's true. Like alligator Alcatraz, right, Ethan? Like the alligator Alcatraz, it'd be all marshy and stuff going through there. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. You want to do something so big that everybody has to know that it was God that did it. And that's what we see at the end with the Israelites. They were like, so the Lord saved Israel that day. When Israel saw the great power which the Lord had used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servants, Moses. So yeah, he had to use this big, dramatic, zesty way in order for it to happen, for there to be. And also, what you said is they destroyed most, all the leaders of Egypt, and so it would be difficult for Israel to go back. But also, it means they're not chasing them anymore also, right? So they killed off all this spot. It's like, I don't know who's watching. I'll just go and get political. They were talking about, as we were watching Hunter Biden this week, and he's been on all sorts of interviews, and he's been talking about his dad Joe. And then one of the guys was saying, "Listen, this is why back in the day, whenever you captured a king, you'd kill the whole family. Like, you'd capture the king, but you'd kill the whole family because you don't want people coming back for retribution that's coming back against them, right? And so I think this is what was happening here in this spot. Like, if God's really going to rescue the Israelites, he was rescuing them forever. He wasn't just rescuing them for that moment, just in time for the Egyptians to go back and come up with their next plan and then come back and rescue them, right? And so if you're going to kill one, you got to kill them all. Otherwise, they're going to come back for retribution against it, right? Unfortunately. The other reason, of course, is, as you say, what is our Red Sea, which is the question that we have up on the screen and the question that we're thinking about today. I also believe that everything that I just read is also metaphorical, right? It's also symbolism to our lives, right? Which is why we hear a lot in the Bible and things pointing to us in our lives. You guys okay, Elias? You all right? Yeah? And the baby's not born yet, is it? Okay, all right, good. I was just making sure. I just get nervous now every time I see it. Because if you guys got up and ran out right now, I would just assume the baby's being born, and I'd be so excited. Yeah, I wouldn't even question you. I would just, you could wait like 3 weeks to get back to me, like, oh, now the baby's born. I wouldn't even know. I'd be so happy. Where was I at? Metaphor. Ethan, stop distracting me. Okay, so here's the symbolism in our lives. The symbolism in our lives, as we've said already, we've established that Egypt for us means slavery, right? We've been slaves to our sin in our lives. So we get to a point in our lives where we get to an impasse and we have to make a decision, right? And the only decision that can be made is because God makes the decision for you. So somebody walk me through this. What do you think the symbolism is in our lives of the Red Sea, which then would answer our question, what is our Red Sea? Okay. All right, it's part of it, yeah. What you got, Bill?
I think the parting of the Red Sea was a path to Jesus.
Uh-huh.
And when he closed the Red Sea onto the Egyptians,
Yep.
it was symbolized washing away our sins.
Yep, that's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. Yes, and in fact, I mean, really what we're looking at here is we're looking at the symbolism of baptism, right? When we think about baptism and you were buried and then you washed, you come up, and the symbolism is that your old self is gone and your new self becomes clean. And so the Egyptians is our old self, and they got buried in the water, and we get to the other side, and that's our new selves, right? It's who we are now in the Lord. So this is part of the symbolism that we have here within this. So then the Red Sea for us is we get to this spot where we know that there's only two choices in life, which is life and death, right? Only two options. You only get two. There's no third option. It's either life or death. And for us physically, we know one day we're going to get to the end and we're going to die, and there's no option, right? You don't get a second chance. You don't get to say, actually, can I wait a few more days? You don't get to do that, right? When it's your time, and you go. Spiritually speaking, though, you do get a decision. Spiritually speaking, you get to that spot where you're looking and you realize there's a Red Sea in front of you. People are chasing you. What you have to choose in this moment is life and death. And life and death is just spiritual life and spiritual death. You have to decide at some point in your life that you're going to accept Jesus. And when you accept Jesus, he is the one that leads you. He says in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. He is the one that parts the Red Sea for us. So really, when you think about it, the symbolism is that the parting of the Red Sea is very similar to Jesus dying on the cross for us. When we think about it, right? And we've talked about this a lot. We've been connecting Moses and Jesus a lot, haven't we? We've been talking about that. Well, for Moses, the way that he rescued his people was parting the Red Sea. For Jesus, the way that he rescues his people is dying on the cross for us. Right? When Moses was there, the water buried the Egyptians that was always chasing after them and always keeping their people down, always keeping them in slavery. For us, Jesus died for our sins, the sin that's always holding us down, always keeping us in slavery, always chasing after us. You follow me? What do you think? Think I'm right? Good. Would you tell me if I wasn't right? Yeah. Okay, good. That's good to know. Good to know. Anyway, I thought it was a fair question to ask. I want to make sure he's not just agreeing with everything I say. But yeah, that's good. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Mikey, what do you think?
So I've used this metaphor, so I'm going to walk away from your metaphor and go to a metaphor I've used in the past, where God says this is what you're going to do.
Yep.
And instead of me waiting for him to part the Red Sea, I try to build a bridge over it.
Yep.
So I try to do things in my own power.
Yep.
Right? So God says, you're going to do this, but you must wait for me to part it. And of course, my human nature says,
I want to do it myself, yeah. Which also would just be, hey, I wonder if any guys ever just jumped in the water and tried to swim. You know, like, what, there's water in front of me. These guys are chasing me. At some point, maybe I can outswim them, right? I don't know. Maybe we don't see it in the scripture, but I'm sure at some point somebody thought, hey, water, die, water, swim. I'm sure at some point we'd say, hey, let's figure this out ourselves. And that's what we try to do a lot. We try to do it constantly. We're always trying to swim in our lives, trying to say, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? How can I get things done? How can I make things happen? And it seems like it's the right thing to do. It seems like trying to do it our own way, but doing it our own way is just trying to swim in the Red Sea, right? And it's not going to work. Eventually, you're going to get taken under. All right, so again, this is going fast tonight because we don't have a lot of talkers in the room, but I do have some points for you today, 4 of them, 4 of them, all right? So the very first thing, here's how we can apply these things to our lives. Trust the Lamb. Who's the Lamb? Jesus, right? We started out with Isaac asking the question, where is the Lamb? We know the Lamb because John the Baptist told us about him. The Lamb is Jesus. So trust the Lamb. We trust in the fact that he is the one that's doing it. Walk through the sea, right? Once you get to that point, even if the Red Sea is parted, those people still had to make the choice to take the first step, right? At some point, you get, I don't know how many steps you get in before you start to do this math in your head, and you're like, yeah, well, it's too late to go back now. Like I better keep on going through, right? Which in my mind, I think they'd be going a lot faster than they were going in that thing. I'd be running all the way through, personally speaking. But you got to walk through the sea, right? And then leave Egypt behind. Leave Egypt behind. This is a very important part of Exodus. Leave Egypt behind. Remember, it took 1 day to get Israel out of Egypt. It took 40 years to get Egypt out of Israel, right? And that's the way it is in our own life. We like this sinful nature always creeps up after us. And the last one is to sing the song of freedom. I thought since Jacob wasn't here tonight that I wanted to tell you how this ends, because what ends is in Exodus chapter 15. And what in Exodus chapter 15, what we get is we essentially get a psalm. We essentially get a psalm that's there, and I don't know why we don't talk about this a lot, but they got to the other side. What are you going to do when you get to the other side? What are you going to do when you realize that you just got rescued from slavery? What are you going to do when you realize that God's the one that just rescued you? You know what you're going to do? Rejoice. That's exactly what you're going to do, and that's what they did as well. So I'm going to read to you, not sing to you, just for your sake, read to you the Song of Moses, which is in Exodus 15, which is beautiful, and everybody skips over it in the story of the Red Sea. It says, then Moses, this is the very next thing that happens. Then Moses and the sons of Israel sang this song to the Lord, saying, listen to this, I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has thrown into the sea, and the choicest of his officers are drowned in the Red Sea. The waters cover them. They went down into the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Lord, is majestic in power. Your right hand, Lord, destroys the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you overthrow those who rise up against you. You send out your burning anger, and it consumes them like chaff. At the blast of your nostrils, the waters were piled up. The flowing waters stood up like a heap. The depths were congealed in the hearts of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoils. I shall be satisfied against them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. But you blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you among the gods, Lord? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in praises, working wonders? You reached out with your right hand. The earth swallowed them. In your faithfulness, you have led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you have guided them in your holy habitation. The peoples have heard, and they tremble. Anguish has gripped the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom were terrified. The leaders of Moab trembling grips them, and the inhabitants of Canaan has despaired them. Terror and dread fall upon them. By the greatness of your arm, they are motionless as stone until your people pass over, Lord. Until the people pass over whom you have purchased, you will bring them and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, the place, Lord, which you have made as your dwelling. The sanctuary, Lord, which your hands have established, the Lord shall reign forever and ever. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Amen. That's what they did. When they got to the end, they sang the song of freedom. All right, that's all we have to end here today. Is that anybody else have any thoughts that they'd like to add to the conversation? Ms. Kathy, thank you so much for dinner tonight, and thank you for my lunch tomorrow. I appreciate that, and maybe my dinner tomorrow too. Yeah, I won't be mad. I won't be mad to eat that a couple of times. I'm glad it was good food tonight, since I get to take good leftovers home tonight. So let's go over a couple of announcements, and then we can go over any prayer requests that you might have, and we can pray. A couple of announcements. Announcement number one: we are officially Generations Church. So yeah, that's awesome. Awesome, very good. And for all the generations, for the generations to come, for the generations that aren't even born yet, that's who we are. We're really cool. We're very excited about that. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting all of our logos and all of that stuff in. So there'll be merch. You guys will be able to wear shirts and stickers and all that stuff that have Generations Church on it real soon. Sir?
Did you already settle on the logo?
We have a guy. We have a guy. Yeah, we have a guy. His name is Rock, actually. He's a really cool guy. His name literally is Rock. No joke. What's his favorite wrestler? The Rock. Yep, very good. But that's coming soon. And then, of course, you guys heard from this past Sunday that we have our vision statement, which also could be called a purpose statement. We debate back and forth which one it is, but which is to know God, to grow together, and to go to the generations. And those are the three things that we're trying to do as a church as we move forward. Very exciting on that. So 3 more Sundays here, and 1 more Wednesday here. And then we'll be merged together as Generations Church real soon. A lot of you guys have been in meetings. I've been in more meetings than I care to talk about, but we've had meetings about youth this week. We've had meetings about children's this week. We've had meetings about communications this week. We've had meetings about security this week. We've had meetings about tech this week. We've had all sorts of meetings this week since it stopped within all that. So all of it's going to go, and it's going to go really well, and we'll be ready to go for the generations. Anybody have any thoughts? Everybody like the name of the church? The only answer is yes. Yes, very good. All right, very good, very good. Uh-huh. You think you should happy birthday to my parents? Yeah, that's good. But I don't know. I don't want to. That might be copyrighted on Facebook. Let's go ahead and pray first, and then we can do that. That's very good. Anybody has any prayer requests you'd like to add? Yes, Mikey.
We have Andy in the hospital for recovery. He might be watching right now. So Andy for recovery.
What's Andy doing? Okay. Hi, Andy. Get better, buddy. I always picture that he writes his name on the bottom of his shoe, like in Toy Story. Thanks, Elias. Oh, yeah. Dang it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. That's it? You got it? Our marriage? Yep. Yes, a baby is about to be born. Can't wait. What's that? Schedule for Sunday, okay. Yeah. No, I told you last Sunday. I didn't think I'd see you next week. I think you'll be with them. Hopefully I think it'll be this weekend. What's today? Wednesday? It's tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day. It's going to be tomorrow. It's on video now. It's on video. When she gives birth tomorrow, we're going to go back and look at that video and just know, I'm calling it. Today is, it's going to be my parents' birthday. Julie, you're going to have your baby on July 24th, 2025. Now, I'm on video. There's video evidence that says it, okay? Oh, it's going to happen. You know, Ethan, everything I predict always comes true. All right, let's go ahead and pray then. Mikey, would you mind closing us in prayer?
Father God, thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for saving us. God, we pray right now for Andy as he's going through recovery from his surgery. And we pray for the lady that Grant and Renee are taking care of right now, as she's going to go through surgery tomorrow. And we also pray for Julie right now as she's ready to bring forth new life into the world and
Goodbye, everybody.